All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, July 5th. Hopefully, you all had a good 4th of July, Independence Day. Markets are currently down, starting the day with the S&P down about 0.5%. The NASDAQ about the same, currently down by 0.5. The Dow Jones currently down by 0.51, and the Russell 2000 doing the worst this morning, down by 0. Well, it was 0.6, but it's actually recovering. A little bit above 1900 as of right now. So, pretty rough start to the market ahead of today's FOMC minutes release, where basically the Fed is going to give a recap of what was discussed at their last meeting back in June. And my prediction, they'll probably give some sort of reasoning as to why they're going with the extra 50 basis points for the terminal rate, or what they expect the rate to be by the end of this year. And in anticipation of this, you're seeing the 10-year Treasury rate going up at 3.866, almost 3.9 as of right now. And then the dollar is holding on to 103 for the Dixie dollar index. So this is creating a pretty rough start to the day for QQQ, SPY. But two trades I'm looking to make based on the options chain is going to be in Microsoft and Nvidia. So looking at the two of those names, you're looking at, Nvidia trading at about 420, which may act as a pivot given that there is a drop in open interest from 5,400 to 1,600. From the 420 put to the 417.5. And then for Microsoft, there is a drop in open interest from the 335 to the 332.5. It's a little bit less than what you're seeing for Nvidia, from 5,000 to 2,500, so it's only like 50%. So Nvidia, I think, could be the better of the two trades here. But we'll also have to take note of the volume going into these trades as well. Nvidia is the trade I'm looking at right now. 430 call at the moment. My only possible concern with the trade would be the 415 is about twice as popular as the 420 strike price. So if we do manage to get below 420 in a significant way, we could end up at 415 and below today. Call for Nvidia based on the drop in open interest for the puts. But yeah, pretty rough day. The VIX is even up 5.3%. Pretty decent gap up. You usually get these kind of gap ups over the weekend, and then with the holiday, this ended up gapping up from 1375 to about 1420. Currently trading at 1440 for the VIX. It's a decent rise in the VIX. Not quite to 15 yet, but getting pretty close to it. If we do get a decent sell-off from the FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. today, then you might actually see the VIX finally above 15 for the first time in a while. But yeah, let's keep Nvidia on deck. Trading at 421.20. Yep, going up right on the open there at 422 now already. So that call's going for 315. Let's see. I'd say a little bit too late to buy it now. So we'll check into Microsoft instead. The 340 call is what I was looking at. It's already up $1.50 from where I wanted it. So decent jump for both Microsoft and Nvidia on the open. Microsoft a little bit slower to move here. And the 340 call I'm looking at is going for 146 right now. 140 now. That Nvidia call is actually losing a little bit of value, even with Nvidia going up, surprisingly. It went from 279 on the open to 315 now. So they could be cheap. I'm sure that it's just based on the demand maybe slowing down for it. Yeah, it looks like a decent rise across the board for the Qs. All the big tech names. It was down 0.5%. Now it's only down 0.15. And Nvidia just got back in the green there. All right, well, if we can't get these two names, we'll look into others. Looks like IWM is all the way down to 186.30. The laggard today for the indices down 0.75%. Qs going up, so we're seeing a reversal from the other day where we saw Qs flat and IWM going up pretty heavy. Now we're seeing the opposite, IWM going down pretty heavy and the Qs being flat. So the rotation trade out of style today. Do I stop losses on the premiums? I don't usually set like a hard stop loss. What I'll do is I'll have specific price levels that I'll be willing to exit. So for IWM right now I have a 190 call that's expiring, I think, July 16th. My plan is to close it by the end of this week. If IWM either hits 185, then I'll take the loss, or if it hits 190 by the end of the week, then I'll take the profit. And then if it's somewhere in between by the end of the week, then I'll just take profits, cut loss, whatever it is. So you have to set like a stop loss level, take profit level, the way that I trade at least, and then like a deadline of when you're going to cut the trade off. Let's check Amazon. Amazon's been having a real hard time staying above 131 for an extended period of time, so we could create a short opportunity. The open interest doesn't really say that it's going to pivot there. The volume does kind of signal that, but not a lot of volume so far today anyway. Looks like we're missing a name. Apple on here. No. Microsoft is what we're missing. Okay. So yeah, Nvidia trading up to 425, up from 420 this morning. This call is trading at, let's see, 320. So they really haven't moved much, interesting enough. Let's check Microsoft, the other name that I wanted to trade. So a decent amount of open interest for the 335 put, but then the 337.5 doesn't have much. So yeah, that's where it ended up pivoting at about 335. Same with Nvidia, same kind of idea going on there. Apple's currently trading at 192.5, but there is not a drop in volume, not enough a drop in volume for that to pivot down. And then the open interest actually builds into 195. So that would actually signal that there could be more upside for Apple above 192.5 if it does get up to that. And the Q's trading back to 370. So this is where we could start to get bullish on the Q's at 371 especially. Looking at the open interest, there's only 1,000 in open interest there for the puts, 4,500 in the calls, and then the 370, there's about a good balance. 4,200 puts, 5,200 calls, and the volume is a little bit higher on the calls as of right now. And then we're seeing Tesla still trading below 280 right now. Or sorry, 370. And then let's see. The open interest is pretty high across the board until you get all the way up to 377. Oh, that's for QQQ. My bad. There's Tesla, 280. Let's see, the open interest doesn't drop until you get up to 287.5, so very far from that level. So yeah, it doesn't seem like we have any trades on deck now that Microsoft and Nvidia popped on the open. Very nice. That ought to do pretty well on Microsoft if you got in early enough. Almost trading to 340 already, so that call's nearly in the money. The one I was looking at went from 86 to 207 already the first 10 minutes of the market. And Nvidia is still trading at just below 425 right now. Those calls going for 360, so they actually did improve a little bit, but the bid-ask spread is really bad for them. You're looking at 315, 355 for the bid-ask. It's a bit unusual for a $30 bid-ask spread on Nvidia for a weekly expiration. There's a decent drop in open interest, but not what I would usually go after. 55.80 for the 425, and then 3,200 for the 427.5. 425 right now is acting as a resistance, but based on the options market, that wouldn't be a pivot point in my opinion. So it could just be a pullback before the next rally up. And there's a decent amount of volume going into the 425 and 427.5 calls right now, 1,000 in each. And then that drops to 500 for the 430s. All right, let's see if Meta could turn around at 290. That is the mark I was looking at for a pivot to the downside, and that's what we took on Monday. That paid out really well. It's about a 70% payout that I got from that. Looking at the volume, it does drop, but not as much as I would like. I guess it does. Actually about 50% on the volume at 290 to 292.5. And then the open interest definitely drops 8,500 to 2,700. So watch out for Meta at 290 here again. We're getting pretty close to that number right now at 288.77. And the trade that I took before was a 275 put or 285 put. So we'll add that instead of Microsoft, since Microsoft's gone up so much already. All right, these are trading at 153, 157. Trading at right at 289 right now. The last high was at 289.40, which is touching right now. And you're still seeing that drop in volume from 290 to 292.5, which is what you want to see for a pivot to play out. I'm going to give it a little bit more time just to see if it does break that 289.4 high. All right, just broke it a little bit. Contracts are going for 140 a piece now, so they're getting cheap. All right. The bid ask is really bad on them right now. Oh, they just sent them to 150 as soon as I tried to open that. I don't want to pay more than 145. Ideally, I can get them at 140, but lots of movement here at 130 for Meta, since this is where it got rejected before. All right, we just crossed 290 right now, so now's the time for entry. All right, got him at a little bit below where I wanted. 262 for two of them. So that was 131 each, I think. $275 put. Sorry, 285 put. At 131. Currently going for 126. So we got a good price on them, luckily. Now it is trading at 291, so that does give me a little bit of concern here. But luckily we got the contracts very cheap, so don't have to worry about taking too big of a loss if it does keep going up. Might even just take profits on a small pullback for Meta. Just so we don't have to risk it continuing to go up here. Trading at 291, just a little bit above it right now. SPY is still pushing up. Let's see. Yeah, 443, almost at the 52-week high that we were looking for the other day. Yeah, and we just barely cleared that on, what was that, Friday? All right, those meta trades lost here. Trading at 292 almost now. Got him at 131, going for 105, 110. So we'll take a little 40 loss. All right, there's a decent pullback from 292.18, 291.50 now. Going for 110 each. That'll probably have to be my exit at 110. Wouldn't expect a very sharp pullback here. Let's see, the 292.5 is actually pretty popular now that we're trading close to it. You see the volume at 10,000 for the 290 and then 8,800 for the 292.5. So not as bad of a drop in volume as we were seeing before. It was about 50%, but now it's only about 10-20%. These contracts aren't exactly where I want to sell them. I'm trading at 108 for the bid. I'm trying to sell them for 110, but not quite giving me that yet. Even with that drop from 292.18 to 291.50. But yeah, look like a quick little dip before the next rise on it. So we'll close them at 95, I guess. Won't get what we wanted for the trade, but not even 95 is going through. I'll have to go with 90. Nope, no 90. I'll just leave the order in for 90 and see if it gets filled with a limit. No order there. Trading at 292.50 now. And pulling back a little bit from there. All right, I'll put the order in for 88. We're still at the ask price there. There we go. All right, got out at 88, opened at 131. So let's see, 131, 88, 43 times 2. That would be a 86 loss for that trade going against us. Cut losses on the Meta 285 put at 80. What was that? 88. All right. Look for another play. Sucks that we missed out on Microsoft and Nvidia first thing. 285 call in Meta. That ought to be doing okay. Amazon's pulling back pretty hard from 131 right now. Still no drop in open interest or volume that I'd like to see for a pivot, so probably just a small pullback before the next rise. Let's see the calls. The 132s are going for 70 cents right now. We could add that for a potential trade today, which is about where these contracts opened at 65 at the low. Q's trading at 370.7, so pretty bullish day for the Q's. Big tech doing really well today. So that ought to help Amazon to go up today. But it is only up 0.2% as of right now. I'm pulling back pretty steep from just above 131. It's typically has for the past few trading days. It goes right above 131, almost 132, and pulls back from that. So right now that is a structural resistance. Meta's really popping off now to 293.5. So that one was a big jump off of 286.5. Let's see if there's anything that could have led us to think that. Not really. You didn't see the drop in open interest at 285. Just a decent rally going on. Probably the squeeze to the upside with all these calls that are getting bought right now that are out of the money. Apple is lagging behind, about flat, down 0.05%. Just below that 192.5 mark. Nvidia's up to 428, almost 430 already. Those calls went from 280 this morning to 495. So anyone who got in on those 430 Nvidia calls doing pretty hot. seeing a pullback in a few names. Amazon, namely. Microsoft pulling back from 340. Tesla from 282. Let's see if there's mini calls above the 340 level for Microsoft and if that could be a pivot on there. The open interest doesn't drop as much as I would like to see. 8,300 to 4,800, and then the volume is about half from one to the other. It's not that many calls getting bought on Nvidia to cause a gamma squeeze, I don't think, but we are getting pretty close to 430 where there's 10,000 in open interest. I think the two opportunities we might go for, either Amazon on the pullback or Apple sitting just below 192.5. Apple looks a little bit more promising. And those calls at the 192.5 strike are going for 120, so they're not too bad for being so close to the money. Those Amazon calls would be pretty far out at 132. And it's having a hard time going above that 132 level. All right, looking to pay 120 for these Apple calls at 122 or 192.5. Going for 123 right now. We might have to overpay a little bit on them. All right. Got him at 119 actually. All right, lowest that these went on this low was 109. Paid 119 for them. Let's check out the other names, see if there's anything else going on. Meta trading at 295 now. It's a huge pop on Meta. Probably going to see people storming into the 300 calls now. Getting so close to it. Yeah, 16,000 volume there. Very big day for the Qs. For that recovery from 368 this morning to 371. And if you get above 371, that should be pretty bullish until about 2 p.m. when that FOMC minutes comes out. And that could change the trade. Someone help Apple. It's getting close to that 192.5 mark. But still about 20-30 cents from it right now. decent amount of 190 puts getting bought, but just about an equal amount of 192.5 calls. And we're closer to that 192.5 mark. We just need to get above 192.5 and clear that level before we make the next leg up, I'm thinking. And then you're looking at the 195 strike with 10,200 volume, 53,000 in open interest. So the open interest here is way high. 30,000 for the 192.5, which is quite a bit for a 2.5 strike price. And then 53,000 for the 195 calls. And for the puts, you're looking at 20,000 for the 190 puts. So about 2/3 of open interest on puts versus calls with the closest strike prices. Calls are recovering a little bit. 125 now from 121 I opened them for. Still having trouble clearing that 192.5 mark though. There we are, just above it. Options are up about 8% now, $30 so far. Seeing Q's right at 371, which I believe will be the point of no return for the bears if it manages to stay above 371. It went right above it at 371.21 and pulled back, which was previous high at 945. So we just need to see it clear it with some confidence here, like 371.50 and above. Then you'll see the bulls taking over. Wealthy risings. I like that. It's the news on Meta launching Twitter clone. The good old copy paste. That's what Meta is best at. Twitter's been around for so long though. Like, it really took them, what? It's been around since 2010, 2011, I think. So it took them 12 years to copy. Crazy. I guess Twitter has been becoming a lot more popular lately. Thanks to old Elon and his rambunctious ways. Riot today. Trading at 1350 now. Volume is hot until you get to 14. Not a lot of drop in the open, actually a rise in open interest to 1350 to 14. But then a steep drop in the open interest from 14 to 14.5. So 14 could be a pivot point. I don't know if you'll get there. That's 50 cents for a $13 stock would be a big rise, but that would be a pivot point by the end of the week. And let's see, for the puts, not many people buying puts close to the money. Only 2,000 for the 13. And then on the calls, you're looking at 7,300 calls there. So very bullish about 13. But 14 would be where you might end up wanting to take profits. At least for this week, that is. All right, Q still trading below 371. Having trouble clearing that bullish mark. Seeing Meta at 295, Nvidia's at 428, Tesla's at 281, kind of flattening out. Microsoft a little bit flat, between 338.65 and a high just above 340, so it couldn't clear that mark, even though there's not much of a drop in open interest and volume. So you could use that as an opportunity to get more of the 340 calls if you want to pay 200 for them. Personally, I would have loved to get them at below 100 this morning, but wasn't quick enough for that opportunity. And then we'll get the Apple 192.5 call back on, so we can keep an eye on it. Currently going for 134. I bought them at 121. So up a nice little $45 for the trade so far. I'd like to see it clear the 193 high from this morning, which would put these contracts at 150. I'd say that might be a little bit of a stretch, though. We'll see. It's starting to form a nice little V-shaped recovery, but right now getting rejected at 192.64, which is about the halfway point for these candles here. Need a Greg and Ricky collab. Ricky doesn't trade options. I don't know why, though. Like, why trade with millions of dollars when you can trade with so much less and get the leverage? I guess you have to deal with expiration dates and options going to zero, which could screw you over, but I'd much rather have the leverage. He usually trades three-time leverage stocks anyway, like TQs or SQs, but man, QQQ just having a hard time at the 371 level here. Meta and Nvidia are still both two hot trades. Microsoft's kind of fallen back here. Contracts are trading for 207 at the moment. Get him on my level. He needs to get me on his level with technical analysis. Something I always kind of struggle with and just go based on price levels. I'm not really into the moving averages and trend lines and all that kind of stuff. I like to stick with the basics. And then, of course, looking at the options chain. Yeah, Apple might be making a lower low. Possibly even kind of looks like a head and shoulders if you take this left shoulder, right shoulder, the head. Kind of a sloppy one, but could be a pivot to the downside if Qs can't stay at 371. You're still seeing Meta doing well, though. Meta and Nvidia leading the way. Google's up 1.3%, but pulling back here. And Microsoft's finally gaining a little bit of support, right at 338.50. So hopefully that'll be a nice little sympathy for Apple to go up with it. Let's see, these two usually trade like hand in hand. Yeah, they both peaked at about the same time at 9:40, the first 10 minutes of the market, and then pulled back from there. Downside more likely based on the technical analysis and Bollinger Bands. Could be. Definitely is overheated. You're looking at 71 on the RSI, so pullback could be in store for us. Especially peaking at 195 would be a good place to pull back from. With a drop in the open interest from 30,000 to 25,000. Actually, no, 53,000 to 30,000. It's not as much as I would like to see, but the volume definitely drops after 195 from 13,000 to 3,700. So yeah, 195 could act as resistance for sure. Microsoft's getting closer to that 340 mark. So this would have been the better of the two plays for sure. Apple almost back down to the lows at 192. Not a good looking formation. Either going to be down or flat throughout here between 192 to 192.5, I'm guessing. If we can have Qs clear the 371 mark, then you might have Apple going up, but it's trading just right at 371, so not super bullish yet. Trying very hard for it. All right, there you go. 371.30 with a high. So that should be enough to get Apple going. I would think. Yeah, 371.45 for Qs. Apple back to those highs a few minutes ago, 10 minutes ago at 192.67. Yeah, these contracts peaked at about the same price, 137 a piece. Again, I'm hoping I can get 150 plus for them, but lots of resistance building up right now at about 192.67. Even with the Qs going up to now 371.50. Probably being led by Microsoft, I'm guessing, almost at 340. 339.60, close to those morning highs at 340.35. Meta's doing the hottest. 3.5% today to 296. So yeah, definitely glad we cut losses and did not hold that trade. We could retry the pivot at 300. Volume definitely drops there, and the open interest has a steep drop. And there's not that much for the 305s either. So we'll set price level at 300 on Meta for it to pull back off of. Still about like $3-4 from it, so a little bit of wait time on that. July is the most bullish statistically for S&P. Yeah, it seems like summertime, especially the last few years, has been very good. But also thanks to a lot of stimulus the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get the same reaction even with the QT rather than QE that's going on right now. Right, it's almost 14. Let's see. Yeah, still a bit away from it, 1363. And then I would take the put at close to 14, so like 1390, somewhere around there. And you could probably even go with an at the money since they're so cheap. You're only paying 70 cents on them. The volume is very low for them though. So it could be a little bit tricky to get in and out of your trade. You're only looking at 100 volume for the 14 puts so far this morning. Yeah, it seems like every time Apple peaks its head above 192.5, it's just coming right on back. Again with that resistance at 192.67. Having a hard time clearing it right now. Not sure why 192.67. It is pretty close to this resistance area, I guess. And then the next would be 193, which is I think where we peaked this morning too. Yeah, 192.98. Oh, you trade a SPY and Riot. Yeah, Riot just doesn't have the volume or the open interest for me to trade. I'd much rather trade Apple and all the big tech, so I don't have to worry about bid-ask spreads getting too bad. You can still face really bad bid-ask spread for some of the stocks though. Like that Meta, I think the bid-ask was like 5 cents wide, which is pretty unusual. But yeah, Q's sitting at 371.50. Bullish day for them. IWM is still down about 0.5%, 0.45% as of right now. 186.75 for IWM. Dow is sitting pretty flat here, down 0.35%. So you're seeing money probably trading out of IWM and DIA, the ones that have been doing okay pretty well the last couple of days, and back into what's been doing well all year, into the Qs. And the big tech names are pretty much all up, with Meta up 4%, nearly 3.8. Google's up 2.2 almost. Damn. Google really making a move here. Drop in volume at 125. We could look for that. A pivot at 125 for Google. Still about $2 away, but getting pretty close to it. Closer than Meta is to 300. But yeah, you see 125 to 126. The volume drops from 6,000 to 900. And then for the open interest drops from 7,300 to just 1,900. So that's what you really want to see for a pivot to play out. Meta was looking like that at 130 with the open interest. Not 130, sorry. 295, I think, or 290. Open interest dropped from 8,500 to 2,700, but the volume actually did build up to where you have an equal amount getting bought today at 290 and 292.5. So either we take a short on Meta at 300 or Google at 125, whichever happens first. Looks like Meta might happen first just based on the speed that it's going up. Hasn't had any pullback, whereas Google did have. Nice little 30 minutes or so trading flat. SPY put was in now. Google launched Bard today. Getting all of the AI mentions, I'm guessing. And Nvidia's trading above 430 now, so yeah, whoever got into that 430 call ought to be doing really, really well now. Those are trading for 650, up from, let's see, damn, below 300 this morning. So more than double already this morning in the first hour trading. Not really much of a pullback. You did have one, a little bit of one at about 10 o'clock, but ate that right back up. Apple's just falling behind now. No love for Apple today. That 192.67 level just too hard for it to close above. I'll set an alert above 192.70 if it does clear it. And then 192 is your lows, roughly. 192.10. We'll make it 192.05, give ourselves a little bit of room. All right, Meta at 298 now, closing in on that 300 mark. And Google still trading in the 123s. Yeah, no problem. Congrats on that trade. This Nvidia, man, they're doing really hot. Apple's just trading right at break even. Back and forth so far for the last 45 minutes of trading. You would think that it would be going up with Qs above 371, well above 371, and taking the bullish side. But Apple not getting any love compared to all the other names. Amazon's not either, actually. Kind of similar. You got that 45-minute consolidation after the drop. Tesla's very flat this morning at 280. Not choosing direction. So I think I'm just going to get out close to the top of the range on Apple here. Those contracts go for about 130 each, which would be like $30 profit. Pretty small, unfortunately, but just getting trapped in this range right now. If it does stick here at 192.40, this would be a higher low, which would be a bullish form. but it's trading just at 60 RSI, just flat at 60 RSI. So it is strong in the consolidation, but not strong enough to get above 192.70 right now. Checking back on Riot, trading at 1366, so not quite where you want to take the short yet. Almost there. Still about 20-30 cents. Seeing a small pullback on Meta and Google. Nvidia, but not really. And Microsoft even going higher at 341 almost, so that cleared the high. Probably going to get some more out of that. Those 340 calls we looked at this morning were going for less than $1.87 at the lowest, now trading at 300. Man, those were two really big opportunities on Microsoft and Nvidia. And then anyone on Meta today. That one was a big surprise. Let's see if there's a pivot on Nvidia. Volume has a steep drop and open interest has a steep drop at 430. To where we might turn around, but we are sitting above 430 right now at 431 almost. 435 is your next hot strike with the 8,300 calls. But let's see, for the Nvidia, go with a maybe 425 put, $305 right now. Which is pretty close to the lows at 275. My problem is that it's trading above 430. Usually you want to take the trade before, but going for a 310, 300 would be nice, but I don't know if we'll get it. Let's see where we have to go for 300. Probably like 431, I'm guessing. And it peaked at 431.77. Which is about smack dab in the middle between 430 and 432.5. All right, Q's just marked 372. So very bullish Q's today. And this contract's going for 305 for the 425 Nvidia puts. Not getting to 300. Not yet, at least. But yeah, Q's just tagged 372. Pull back a little bit on it. A lot of money going into Microsoft at 341, leading that going up. You're seeing Meta pulling back here just a tad at 298. Google still trading at the highs, closer to that 125 mark that we need. But yeah, very bullish day across the board for tech. Not so much for IWM or the Dow. Down 0.8% for IWM, down 0.3% for the Dow. Some money selling out of small caps, industrial staples, and back into the AI-driven names. Are you considering watching ICT mentorship? No, I've not. All right, let's see. All right, those 425 puts are going for less than 300 now. On NVIDIA, trading just above 431. Close to those highs of 431.77. Where these trades were going for 275 instead of 300. So you could get them about 20 cents cheaper. Waiting on a pullback, but or not a pullback, but a new high. Nope, too late on that one. Back to 310 now from 290. So probably going to miss out on that trade, but Apple finally getting a little bit of upside here. Back to the highs from the morning. 129.60. Contracts are up 45 or about 12%. Just cleared that high. Contracts are trading at the highest price they were at 136, 137 now. And pulling right back after making that high. It still has the momentum going for it. You're trading above 60 on the RSI. 61 right now, which it's maintained for majority of the morning. So momentum is going for the trade. You just need to clear that high at 192.70. And then 193 is your next resistance. Again, this is stemming from a couple trading days ago with this resistance back here at 192.70 and then 193 here. Need Apple at 194. That would be a big jump, especially with this flat trading action this morning. You would really expect it with Q's doing so hot, but all the money is getting poured into Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Apple is just getting left behind right now. It has been one of the leaders, I would say, for the past couple of trading days, up to 195. Let's see the hourly charts for the other names. Yeah, Meta was just trading flat for a very, very long time. Google was actually trading down and flat. So, could be the reason why Apple's fallen behind today versus the other names. Nvidia has been one that's been trading down, but finally caught some support at about 400 and 405. Let's see, Microsoft. This has been one that's been trading flat for a long time too, but still not quite above its highs at 342. And Q's finally breaking out of its 2-day range too, just above 371. All right, I'm not really trusting Apple with this 192.70 level. Trade is going for 130. I bought them at 119, so 33 profit. But it's just having a real hard time at that 192.70, even with the rest of the market going up as well as it has. Yeah, these contracts peaking just above 130. 134 was the highest this last 5 minutes, and then 139 for the previous 5 minutes. And they're just finding themselves in this range between 115 and 140 or so. Meta's pulling back from 298 to 296.50. Google pulling back a little bit, not much, 30 cents there, from 193.37 to 123.37 to 123.07. And Nvidia did get that pullback that I wanted from 431, currently at 429.40. It's a nice little $1.50 drop. Sending those Nvidia contracts from 300 where we wanted them to 340 right now. And Microsoft pulling back close to 342. Not quite there. Yeah, I'm just going to wait for Apple to get back closer to 192.70 hopefully, or 192, cut losses down there, take profits at 192.70, and that will be the trades for today, and hopefully we can find something else. But that's it for me, and I will catch y'all tomorrow. Jesse asked, CCL trading 19, only contracts to 30. Probably just a big move on the stock in a very short amount of time to where the options makers couldn't keep up, most likely. Yeah, I'm only seeing up to 25 for this week. So you had a huge move for the past, let's see, week that sent it from 14, 15 to 20. So the market makers just couldn't keep up with that sharp rise in the stock. To add all the new strike prices, they'll probably do it later on, like next Monday or something like that usually. But yeah, that's it, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow at 9:30. See everybody.